Hey, cosmic warriors, spiritual skeptics, or just a random confused human. Welcome to another dimension. It's time to sit down with me, your reluctant mystic Michelle, coming to you from the void between worlds to talk about some really interesting metaphysical stuff. Who am I? Just a human who's been thrown into this place called Earth, who has a lot of questions, born with a whole bunch of gifts, but not a lot of answers. So what this podcast is going to do is explore some paranormal mysteries, energetic phenomena, and a lot of FML moments that have you questioning, what the hell are we doing here? So if you're spiritual or you're just really confused, this is the right place for you. So join me if you like riding the waves of the quantum ocean and getting really down deep into the WTF of what's going on here. Because, as I always say, they're legit. There's no way I signed up for this. So if you're ready for a wild ride, let's go. All right, this is going to be such a fun episode. As I talk about a lot of my gifts, there's also things that I also want to focus on too, the paranormal aspects. In this episode, I'm talking about parallel universes. Like, there's so many different theories, the multiverse and everything else. But I want to talk about my experiences and just my own personal theories of what I think's going on, right? So, again, a few years back, 2, maybe 3 years back, I went through a past life regression, hypnosis. It was QHHT was the method, and I was so moved by it. I went and got certified to be a QHHT, or a quantum healing hypnosis therapy practitioner. And while I've practiced with it for about a year or so, I did take a break from it. I'm about to restart it again, but it was a life-changing experience. And I do have some episodes ways back where you kind of hear about some stuff that happened. But one particular part of the regression was explaining what, in my opinion, was the process or the explanation of parallel universes, right? So in the hypnosis, I spoke of how our souls are fractals of our higher selves, or our most enlightened version soul. So we are as of God, and up in that higher intelligence, but we are fractaled off. And that explains, past lives, concurrent lives, things are going on in parallel succession. Well, it wouldn't be succession, but parallel time frame, because we all know in space there is no such thing as time. That is a construct that humans have created, right, for us to categorize experiences and when things happen. We like to categorize and label. It's just something that we do. So there's many a thought that everything is going on at the same time, all the time. And it's possible to pull information from the different parts of you that are in different experiences. And I know this is probably where I'm going to lose about 60 to 70% of you all as you click off this episode. But for the ones who stay on, I think it's going to be really interesting. So, fractals, right? Things running concurrently, all at the same time. It could explain the whole Mandela effects that occur, right? Because you cannot sit here and tell me, when I was coming up through school, King Tut had a buzzard on his head. He always had a cobra, but never a buzzard. Now, when you pull up King Tut, anywhere you pull him up, he has a buzzard and a cobra. It doesn't even look right. It's even off-centered. But we're not here to talk about Mandela effects. That's going to be a whole nother episode. But who's to say in another parallel universe that wasn't the way it originally was, and we just kind of merged over timelines. So this can get really, really down the rabbit hole and in the mind tanks when you think about it. But what I propose for you all to consider is just what if we did have the ability to live multiple lives all at one time, right? And the one you're living is the one you're consciously aware of. Because sometimes when you dream, I'm pretty sure there's some of you who are listening who are like, that dream was way too real. Like, you wake up and you're confused where you're at because how real that dream was. Who's to say you didn't just kind of your consciousness didn't just wake up in another one of your concurrently running lifelines? Who's to say that that person you can't seem to let go of or always feel attached to is because in 6 other lifetimes that are running concurrently, you guys are together? And this one you're not. But you still pick up hints from those other experiences where you guys are. Makes it very difficult for you to let go of this one. Who's to say that you are drawn to a certain location, a certain city, a certain country? You have no ties to it, but for whatever reason, you feel that's where you need to be. Who's to say in another parallel universe or timeline, right? Because you'll hear people say parallel universe, but you'll also hear people say timeline. That's not where you're at. And you're just pulling information from there. Think about it. Children who are born geniuses, right? Who are born, who can play the piano, who can play the drums, who can do all this before they can even walk, who are mathematical geniuses before they can even form complete sentences. They're pulling that knowledge from somewhere. Some people can say, oh, it's just in their brain. The way some of this information comes through, the brain hasn't even formed those parts yet to be able to function in that way. It's coming from somewhere. So who's to say that some of these individuals or some of these experiences are not what I call bleed overs? Bleed overs or bleed throughs, sorry. Bleed throughs are, for me, how we explain deja vu. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like I've done this before, this, that, and the other. It's potentially a bleed through of a different timeline. So, yeah, you did this maybe before. You're just picking it up. Your consciousness, where you're aware, your awareness is picking it up. So, and I know this can get crazy, and I know there's people out here who are like, what the hell is she talking about? But think about it when you're talking about deja vu. Think about when you're talking about these dreams that are so real. Think about these young babies who are born doing things that their brain shouldn't even be able to function because those parts haven't even been formed yet. They're pulling the information from somewhere. Now, mainstream, right? We just say they're gifted, right? And it's so funny how in mainstream or in science, we'll give a terminology to things we can't explain. So we'll just give it a label because we like that, right? When we're in these human forms, we like labels. We like to compartmentalize. So we can't explain it, so we're just going to give you a label. Now, sometimes it works out well, like, okay, you're gifted. We can't explain why you can do this. We're just going to call you gifted. But sometimes it goes the other direction, right? Back in the day, certain individuals who were able to express their gifts and show their gifts were given diagnoses, mental health diagnoses, because we can't explain it, so we're just going to label it this. So I would say when things like that happen, just allow your mind to kind of wander some and say, what is it am I supposed to learn from this? When I do have a deja vu moment, is there something I'm supposed to be picking up? There's also a belief system that you can kind of go into a meditation to try to pull or not try, but actually pull information from your other timelines. There's a part of my gifting, and it doesn't happen all the time, and I cannot call on it to happen, but it will pop up for individuals if that is what they're supposed to experience, or I'm supposed to use that level of gift with them. So I call it streamlining or streams, because I will see somebody's different timelines in 4 streams, and I can give them what I'm seeing, and it never fails. The decisions that they make will place them in whatever stream, but they will have been provided 4 different options or opportunities. And then my ability to access the Akashic Records also assist with that. And that's a whole nother conversation. The records, with my archangel that I'm assigned to being Metatron, who is the person who checks the book, right? Many of you who know about, when you make that final crossover out of this experience, they check the book to see how many good marks you got. The records, the Akashic Records, that's what we're referring to. So again, those are all conversations for different days. Parallel universes or timelines, call it whatever you want to call it. It's where your awareness, your conscious awareness sits. So, is it possible to pull information? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really done a lot of work into that. But I do honestly think that there are experiences where different parts of us are in different places. So, this was a kind of wild one, fully aware. But I'm really curious to hear about anyone else's experience when we're talking about parallel universes, when we're talking about timelines, déjà vu, things of that nature. There's many shows or episodes, TikToks, where people actually feel they jump timelines, where their whole life that they used to have is completely changed, but by little minute details. Right? And then you have the Mandela effects. So there's too much of this stuff to say it's not a thing, but it's not enough tangible or information or data that can be measured to make it something that is mainstream and believable, right? So it turns into a Marvel joke, the multiverse, things of that nature. But there are scientists who actually have theories and actually have written journals about these topics. So it's enough out here to have some of the biggest minds question it. And hey, I think it makes for a great conversation starter. So yeah, let me know if you've had any experiences with parallel universes, timelines, or if you're somebody who can't access the records or have the gift of where you can do the streams and see different timelines for people. I would love to connect with some of you there too, because again, that's a new one for me. It's only a few years for me, but it's definitely something that's interesting and it's cool when it happens. So yeah, I would love to hear about it. But as always, I thank you guys for hanging out with me. You guys take care, stay safe, and keep your eyes to the sky.